Welcome to Wisdom Woman podcast. I believe that is in constant change and growth, not in perfection, that we find happiness. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking with top performance professionals about tools, techniques, new ideas on how to develop your communication skills, use your creative thinking, be a team player, manage your tasks like a pro, be motivated, become an expert on relationships, and a problem solver. Everything you need to be 5 stars in all areas of your life. My intention is to help you develop your skills and find balance between your professional and personal life. My name is Betina Pflug, and I hope I can be your trusted advisor. Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Wisdom Woman podcast, where we delve into stories of strength, resilience, and wisdom to help empower individuals to live their best lives and achieve their goals. This podcast is designed to offer practical advices, powerful insights, and inspirational stories from experts who are making an impact around the world. Today, we have a very special guest, Luana Maria Jones, a Brazilian-born, Australia-based advocate for international students and the Brazilian community here in Melbourne. Luana has lived in Australia for 18 years and has been instrumental in building and supporting the Brazilian community through her work with different WhatsApp community groups and the Brazilian Council of Citizens in Victoria. We call it CCBV. Passionate about students' welfare and helping individuals succeed in their international journey, Luana recently joined Ascent Australia, a student agent focused on creating personalized strategies for students to thrive here in Australia. In this episode, we will discuss Luana's incredible work in supporting both the Brazilian community and international students, including how potential expatriates can prepare for studying in Australia, overcome challenges, and make the most of their experience abroad. Whatever you're planning to study in Australia or simply curious about life as an expat, this conversation will provide you with valuable insights and actionable advice. Luana, thank you so much for joining us today. Could you start by telling us a bit about your personal journey and how you ended up living here in Australia the past 18 years?
Hi, Betina. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I arrived in Australia 18 years ago, and that wasn't the plan. So I used to have a successful job in Brazil. I worked for an Australian company, and that was how I met my husband. We live in Rio. I came as a holiday to Australia and fell in love with, but my journey wasn't so easy. I had lots of big stones I had to remove on my way. I was deported from Australia because I got married in the wrong visa. So I was sent back home and had to go through a whole process of immigration. And it was such a stressful time that I kind of developed a passion for immigration. I wanted to understand why that was happening, why they need the information that they need. And throughout the 2 years of my process, I ended up learning a lot and getting to know people, because every time they call me for an interview, I take down their name, their email, and used to send them questions all the time. At a time when immigration was a little bit more accessible than it is today, because everything was done in paper and in person, so it was nothing electronic like it's today. So a normal citizen could have information given to them. So I did a lot of use of that. And then fast forward all the way coming to Australia, got married and built my life here, and built a community here as well. And I miss having that sense of community when I had my first child. So I had a little bit of friends, Brazilian friends, but I missed that connection to my country. So I was happy in Australia. I had my Australian friends, but the connection to my root was missing. And I knew Sydney had a lot of Brazilians and had a lot of festivals, but Melbourne didn't, not 18 years ago. And I knew a handful of Brazilian moms. who knew a handful of other Brazilian moms, and that we got together with another friend, and and we created Facebook groups for mothers, mães brasileiras in Melbourne, Brazilian mothers in Melbourne, and so they created that and add us as the first member, and overnight it grew enormously. And then from there it came the Brazilian community, and then the WhatsApp groups, and that just started growing, and we started making parties to engage the children, to engage the mothers, and it just grow. And I think my I kind of found my core that I like helping people find their ways. We met a lot of mothers who were students, and I started studying more and more and more, and doing courses and learn how I could help them. So for this period of about 12 years, I work as a pro bono work as a agent, helping students that had problems either with their school, with their agents they had here, and they did not have support. So I would guide them through that, would guide lots of mothers who need to find school for their children or was having problem with their schools. And amongst all of that, then I joined CCBV and joined as a general member, helping where I could. And then during COVID, just prior to COVID, I was elected the general coordinator, and then I helped throughout the COVID, and that was what motivated me. COVID was what motivated me to join Accent.
And tell me
Is
more, what role does CCBV play in the Brazilian community here in Melbourne, and how can it support potential expatriates?
So the CCBV, it's a bridge between the embassy and the community here in Victoria, because we don't have a physical council here, Brazilian council here, councillors. So we have an honorary council and we have the CCBV. And what we do, it's a similar as a support service for the embassy. So if we have anyone that I need of help from the council, or they need services such as military enrollment, birth certificate, we help the embassy organize the itinerary embassy that happens every 3 months. So the CCBV organizes that. On top of organizing visits to Brazilians who are under arrest, so who are in prison, visitors to Brazilians in hospital that do not have any representatives here, and any other issues that they have. So we have members who are from CAPA, for example, who treats a part of the emotional part of it that can help. We have people who are specialized in domestic violence. We have the council. We have the embassy itself as a member of the CCBV. We have immigration agents. So we give support to the community, to the wider community in Victoria, with the support that the embassy or consulate would give them, but it's in connection with the embassy. So not all services we can do, and some service we can only help them during the itinerary consulate.
Well, that's perfect. And what is your role inside CCBV right now?
So right now, for the past 5 years, I've been the general coordinator. So I'm responsible to be that main bridge. So the embassy and the council will communicate with me, and I will either take action or nominate someone that will do that on behalf of the CCBV.
Oh, that's wonderful. And for our listeners who are thinking about studying in Australia, how should they prepare themselves before making such a big move?
I think the first step is to search the country, to try to understand the country, because Australia is like many countries in one. So I think the first step is try to understand the country where you want to go, either to study or to live or to have a long holiday, but also update your resume. And so first would be learn about the country, the different areas of the country, and then look for an educational agent. I think that's one of the most important thing, because if you try to do it yourself, one mistake can cause a lot of trouble. It can mean a refusal of a visa. So to be prepared, the first thing would have to contact an educational agent, a registered education agent, and have a conversation with them and understand what do you need, how much money is needed, how long do you need to prepare, how long is the process, because each case is one case. So you can't just go on Google and how do I apply for a student visa and try to do, because each case is one case. Most educational agents do not charge any extra fees, so you will in advantage have a professional person helping you, guide you throughout the whole process on how to do, what documents to get ready, how much money do you need, if you're a family, do can I bring my wife, can I bring my children, do my children will my children need to study, and things like that. The education agent can help you, and they can find the right school, the right course that will meet your needs. I
And what
think that would be
changes
the
have
first.
recently been made here to Australia student visa process, and what is the new student profile that Australia is looking for?
Australia wants genuine students. So what happened a lot was when COVID finished, the doors open. It opened without control. And we had a lot of students coming in, but a lot of non-genuine students. And Australia wants people that we want to study, not come to Australia just to work. They want people who actually have intent of upgrading their resume or learning a language or learning a new trade. They are looking for a profile of young. So they want young people, because if you're going for migration, you have the limit age of 45. But the best age that they might be looking to what the immigration are looking for are people under the age of 35. So under the age of 35, we've also people that are able to explain why studying in Australia would benefit them. So that's what they want. They want people who will come here and will um, improve their resume, will improve their career, but also will contribute to the Australian educational system.
Okay, and so what would you say are the main challenges students face when they arrive here in Australia?
I think the main challenge is the culture shock. A lot of people think it's very similar, but it's not. Australia is it's a country that it's very relaxed, but it's also a country that it's based on rules. Everything has its own time, and that's why Brazilians are hard. And but one of the things they face, which I think is difficult, is to understand how the system works. How does what is TFN, what's ABN, and how do they work? Do I need to declare taxes? When do I declare taxes? What is USI? What is the student ID? How do I use a MyKey card or any other card, transport card? So that it's very difficult. We try to guide them on that. We try to give them, you arrived in Australia, so you need to validate your health insurance, you need to have a TFN, an ABN, you need to get an ATO account, and explain to them how all of that works. Explain to them that things in Australia have their own time and they've got to follow the rules.
And in your experience, what are the top cultural adjustments that international students, particularly Brazilians that we know very well because we both are Brazilians, need to make when settling here in Australia?
I think in terms of cultural, I think Brazilians adapt really well to Australia because we have similar culture in the way that we enjoy spending time with our friends. And Australia is all about having quality time. So being able to, we have wonderful parks in Australia, in public areas and in free concerts. So that part is easy, but I think the hardest is the language. The Aussie English, it's very difficult. It's different from the American English, which we are used to it. It's closer to the British English, but it's on language. I think that's the biggest. It's they sometimes they think, oh, I can speak English, and they get here and said, oh my God, I can't understand a word they are saying. And also, I think the fact that everything in Australia closes early. We're used to Brazil. A lot of the things go all the way to midnight and sometimes work 24 hours. And things in Australia, shopping mall will close at 5 p.m. on a Sunday. So I think they have a little bit of a shock when it comes to that. And it's a very safe place we use in Brazil to walk in the street holding our bags and not talking on our phones on public. And here it's all relaxed. But I think that's a positive
Yeah,
adjustment for them.
in my experience, I was from Brazil to United States. I lived there for several years, 7 years, and then came back here. And the main thing I need to confess, was to learn how to drive the opposite way and learn how to walk the other way. I even brought my dog from United States, and she cannot walk on the left side of the road. So I'm always bumping on people. Everybody horns on me on the traffic. So I'm still adjusting. That's not easy to drive here. I have to
No,
confess.
it's true. It's true. I think once you get the hand of it, it's okay. I find it actually easy to drive in Australia because we don't have the hurry that we have in Brazil. But every time it feels like you're turning on the opposite way, on the wrong way of the
Oh,
road. And I
no.
have to confess, I still do that. I have to turn and say, oh no, that's not my lane.
And for me, how many times I sit on the passenger seat and said, "Oh my God, where is the wheel? Oh my God, how am I gonna drive? Oh my God, I'm in the wrong." But we will slowly get there. Can
Yeah.
you share also some successful stories of Brazil or students that thrive here in Australia with the right preparation and support?
So I had one just last week, which was very, very happy. I got a FaceTime call from this student for NUSA. I'll keep his name private, but it was, and I was like, oh, that's unusual. I haven't heard from him for a while. So I answered, and he was crying, and I said, what happened? He said, I've got my PR. I said, you got your PR? He said, I've got my PR. I had to tell you. So this student came to me already with proficient English, and they wanted to do carpentry. And I said, okay, well, let's do carpentry. But, do you have any understanding? He said, oh, yes, I've worked in Brazil as a carpenter before, and my family has a building. I said, oh, great. This is beautiful because it's different. Carpentry here is different from in Brazil, and all techniques are different. So we enroll in it and we help him. So he finished the course and told him, make sure you go into, as soon as you start your course, you go back to work in building. So you make your connections. So once he finished, we helped him to apply for the post-graduation visa. So doing that, he went in and signed in for the job ready so he could get his hours and his whole year of experience. And meanwhile, I told him, you've got to practice your English because in immigration, one of the most important thing is your English proficiency. So the higher your English score, higher your chance to have an invitation from the government to apply for a visa. So he dived the last 6 months of his visa, he dived into studying for PTE. And he studied and got an amazing score of 79, which is very high. Put it in his application, his expression of interest, and 3 days before his visa expired, he got the
Wow.
invitation to apply. And 2 months later, he got his PR.
Wow.
And
That's such a
one of
success
the
story.
things, yes, and I was so happy because he said to me, I'm so glad I listened to you and I really studied for PT because my immigration agent said that was the difference. My score was much higher than the 65 points needed because of my English proficiency. Therefore, my invitation came earlier and I was able to apply. And 2 months receiving a PR is pretty good. So
Wow.
that's one of the things. So the focus on English.
And what are some key mistakes or misconceptions that students make when they apply to study here in Australia?
Well, the key mistake is thinking that an upper intermediate level of English is enough. And it's not. It's not. You see a lot of them when they are at the end of their journey and they want to apply for other PR or a work visa, they cannot achieve the desired English score and they need to go back to English. And I keep telling them, you have to focus on English. It has to be the first thing. If you don't, even if you have come from Brazil with a proficient English, do a little refresher course before you go into a technical course or a master degree, because it is the number one priority in Australia. In the past, it wasn't, but it is now. They want people who are able to speak English, and I think that's the first thing. People go, "Oh, I want a economic school, and I'll learn English in 6 months," and we know that's not how it works.
Yeah,
So I
people
keep
tend to
telling,
stand with their peers. So for
yeah,
example, if you're Brazilian, they tend to stay with Brazilians to feel the sense of community, and then you don't speak much English, and you get accommodated
yes,
working in a field that you're used to. So get out of your comfort zone is one of the key things for you to find English proficiency, and just
absolutely.
merge with locals. Try to speak with locals English. I think 42% of people who live here in Melbourne are immigrants. So you're going to have people from all over the world. And why not choose Australians to merge with?
Yes. That's one thing that I always tell them, and it pains me to see people who have an amazing curriculum in Brazil, an amazing career, come here and work in an area in temporary jobs for years. Something they should be doing just in the first 6 months until they get a fluency, and then go into the area because they are, oh, it's too hard to get a job because you're international student, or it's too hard to place. It's not. You've got to put yourself there. There are professionals that can help placing yourself or presenting yourself better, and they need to immerse themselves into the community. And I tell them, volunteer. Volunteer work in Australia is very important. It counts a lot on your curriculum, and you have amazing reference for future job. So volunteer on Australian, sports community, schools, or whatever you are able to, and use that time to practice your English, to do something good for the community, but also to insert yourself in the community and possible in the job market.
Yes, if you want some tip, there is an awesome website called, let me see, The Ethical Jobs here in Australia, ethicaljobs.com.au, where you can find volunteer opportunities as a board member or just in a nonprofit. And I have helped several people redoing their resume to find the jobs, not just the simple jobs, and adjust the LinkedIn, prepare for interviews to be able to find this job while you have the student visa. And this is key, like Luana was saying, it's key for you to really try to find something in your field. What strategies would you suggest that students can use to find housing and integrate into the Australian society more easily, besides just volunteering?
Um, First, I would say to them, it's really important to have a very strong LinkedIn because we know we know that Australia works on LinkedIn. We see sponsor offers all the time happening, but the strategies I would say, especially for housing, they can. People have a mistake thinking that because they don't have a history in Australia, it's hard to rent. But if they have a history of 20 years of their country, that counts. So they can prove, they can request a ledge from the place where they have previously rent in Brazil, and show that on inspection. Go prepared with documents, with your visa, with financial capacity proof, with recommendation, including from your agency, that you pay your course on time, that you are a good client. That helps a lot on to get a house. And also, I would say to get a job, people knowing that you're responsible. So reference from your country does work here. So I tell people, don't forget about that. The reference you had your whole life, they will be referenced anywhere in the world. So that's one of the things. Use your reference that you have, your history that you have already.
And you can always pre-prepare the letters in English and ask the person just to sign if they're not fluent in English. But having those reference letters are essential. That's a good tip. Thank you so much. And what financial preparation or consideration should the international students keep in mind before making the move here to Australia?
I always say to my students, Australia is a country full of opportunities, but we don't know how soon when you get here you'll be able to adapt and to get a job. So it is important to follow the directions of the immigration department and have the it's nearly 30,000 Australian dollars for the year prepared. Why is that? Because if you have an emergency, if you get sick and you're unable to work, you have that money saved. So prepare yourself because adapting to the country, to the language and everything, it will take at least 2 months. So it's important when the student contract the service of education agents, they understand the cost of living, that the cost of their course, the cost of renting a house or renting a room or share a room, how much that will cost them, and be prepared to not have a job just in case something happens. We can't come to Australia and just count that you get a job in a week because that might not happen. It would
Yes,
be irresponsible to say that, come and you find a job, come prepared. If you find a job, great, that money stays in a safe, but come prepare with the $30,000 required by the immigration for the year if you come for a year,
yeah,
even if
that's
it
so
takes a bit
important.
longer.
I witnessed a boy that came here to study, and he was working as a Uber Eats together with another job, and he had an accident and was unable to leave his house for 2 months. He almost had to go back because he wasn't prepared financially. Thank God her peers helped him out, but it's not always the case. You have to come prepared. So this is an important advice.
Yes,
And
and you see all the time, all the GoFund campaigns for those students that will suffer an accident and cannot work. They can't pay their bills, and you see GoFunding that. So if you come prepared, you don't have to go through that.
And for expatriates bringing their families like you did here, how they can
Mhm.
ensure a smooth transition and support their children in adapting to a new environment or in the school?
I think the first thing is making sure that the agency you have contract do the service as well of enrolling your children either in a kindergarten or in a school, because it's really hard to do that process, and to have to do it by yourself can be very complicated. So I would say first of all, make sure that your educational agent is prepared to help you through that process.
Mm-hmm.
Select a school that is near your home and do the online visit to the school. So you can do the online campus visit to the school. Most I do with my students. We can book for them to know, to see how the school works, so the children is prepared. They know what to expect because kids need to know what to expect. They will need support. They learn very quickly. They'll pick up the language in a blink of an eye. It's a
Uh-huh.
month when you see them talking, but they need to know what to expect. They need to know that the classes are from 9 to 3:30. They need to know what happens before, what happens after, how things are, and if they are doing the tour, the online tour with their parents, they can see that. They are
Yeah,
able to see that.
for my daughter, the uniform was the most challenging thing. She was feeling so embarrassed because we had to purchase the uniform before the school started, and she never wore an uniform like that, like a blazer. But seeing everyone wearing and being used to it, after 3 months, she was feeling so comfortable on the uniform. So don't worry, don't worry. And finally, for those who are feeling uncertain about whatever studying or living abroad is the right thing for them to do, what advice would you offer to help them overcome this fear and take the leap to really come?
I think the first step is to talk to an agent. Try to understand the process so you feel safety. Try to see if Australia it is for you. If it is, go with someone that will give you know you have they'll have your back, who will give you support, and you're not just arrive lost in Australia. But don't be afraid of change because change can be really good. And if you have the right information and the right support, why not? We are citizens of the world. We're not back in the 80s that we hardly travel. We are now literally citizens of the world. You see people moving from Brazil to Canada to Australia to Ireland to United States all the time, And be open mind, but do your research. Do talk to an agent. Have a chat like we are having here. Ask a lot of questions so you can feel safe that you are choosing the right place, the right time, and the right course, the right city, and everything.
Yes, having an independent agent is a big plus because some agents are just related to one school and sometimes they just want to sell the course. The agents that are very serious, like Luana here, they really take care of you. They really pay attention on what are your needs. They try to understand your specific situation. So I really, really encourage you to look forward and schedule a time to talk with her. So, Luana, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and experiences here with us today. Your dedication to helping students and the Brazilian community navigate their journey here in Australia is truly inspiring. And I know that our listeners have gained a lot from your advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, if you're thinking about studying here in Australia or simply curious about how to make your expat dream come true, I encourage you to reach out to Luana for guidance and support. Her information will be here on the description of this podcast. You can find her contacts and just send her a message, her website. And for those of you who are considering a big move abroad but are feeling a little bit stuck or unsure about how to make it happen, I'm here to help. I offer personalized coaching sessions where we can discuss what's holding you back, map out all the skills and the preparation you need, and create a clear roadmap to make your dream a reality. Visit my website and schedule one on one so we can get to know each other. Thank you for tuning into another episode of the Wisdom Woman podcast. And remember, with the right guidance and mindset, you can overcome any challenge and achieve your goals. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to Wisdom Woman Podcast. To hear past and future episodes, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast channel. We appreciate your reviews. To give us suggestions for future show topics, please write to us at podcast@witty.tech. If you're interested in having me as your trusted advisor, schedule a strategic coaching session on my website, www.witty.tech.